So good day to all grade 7 students who are watching today. So I am Ma'am Kay from Mariveles National High School, Batangas Dos, your science teacher for today. So let us begin our lesson by looking at this picture. So what do you think is common about these pictures? So everything in this picture shows motion. So that is what we are going to talk all about today. So how can you tell if an object is in motion? So paano nga ba natin nasasabi na ang isang bagay ay gumagalaw? Okay. What should we learn for our lesson for today? So let us read the objectives. First, we have to describe the motion of an object in terms of distance or displacement, speed or velocity, and acceleration. Then the second one is we have to differentiate distance from displacement, speed from velocity, and compute for distance, speed, and velocity of a moving object. Lesson for today. So, according to the dictionary, it is motion, it is an act, process, or instance of changing place. And also, an object is said to be in motion if over time, it changes its location. Again, when it changes its location, then there is motion. So, masasabi natin na gumalaw ang isang bagay if there is a change in position. Then, if an object is not moving, then it is said to be at rest, motionless, or stationary. So, that is the term that we use if an object is not moving. It is at rest. It is stationary or motionless. Walang paggalaw doon sa bagay na yon. Ibig sabihin, walang pagbabago doon sa kanyang posisyon or lokasyon. Then, the movement or rest of an entity will not shift until a force acts on it. So, let me emphasize force. Kailangan magkaroon muna ng force in order for an object to move. Kailangan merong mag-act upon na force para magkaroon ng motion. So, malinaw po tayo doon sa motion. So, that factors that I have discussed, they all contribute to the question that I flashed earlier, yung how can you tell if a motion, or how can you tell if an object is in motion? So, ito po yung ating explanation. So, can you give examples of situations that show motion? First, magbibigay muna ako ng example and then kayo naman. So, here are some examples. First, the Earth's rotation and revolution. Yung pag-ikot ng Earth. So, that is a constant movement, no? So, hindi tumitigil ang pag-ikot ng Earth and as well as its revolution around the Sun. Then, constant expansion of the world. So, nagkakaroon ng constant expansion. Then, next, ball rolling down the hill. Rolling down, yung bumababa sa hill, gumugulong pababa. Then, a train running along the track. So, these are just examples of objects in motion. Okay. So, how about you? Can you give examples of situations that show motion? Okay. So, I guess your answer is correct. So, let us look at these pictures. No? One way of saying that an object's motion is through cameras using motion detectors. So, ang mga camera natin ngayon, it has motion detectors, no? Na-identify na nila kapag ang bagay ay gumagalaw. So, kung napapanood ninyo sa mga movies, ganyan, mga palabas, there are CCTV cameras that moves, no? Gumagalaw po sila. Yun ang mga nauunang CCTV na kapag nagkaroon ng bagay na gumalaw, it will focus on that object that is moving. Ngayon, nagfo-focus pa din sila. Yun nga lang, hindi na yung entire CCTV yung gumagalaw. Instead, yung lens doon sa loob niya, doon na lang siya nagkakaroon ng doon mo na lang makikita na nade-detect niya yung movement ng object. So, by looking at these illustrations, can you tell whether it is moving or not? So, let us take a look at this picture first. So, ito. So, by looking at these illustrations, kasi di ba syempre, we often watch cartoons. And in cartoons, how can we tell if an object is in motion? So, by looking at this kind of illustrations, di ba? So, on this first object, do you think it is moving? Okay, so very good. It is moving, no? Oh, yan, yung mga lines na yan, kadalasan nakikita natin yan sa mga cartoons, sa mga anime. How about this one? The books on a bookshelf. Do you think there is movement? Okay, no, there is no movement. How about this one? Okay, it is a ball, and it looks like it is rolling. So, it is moving. The next one is this one. So, what do you think is he doing? So, he is running. So, I guess he is moving. So, okay. So, this one, then this one, and this one, they are all objects that shows motion. While this one, this is at rest. So, yun yung ating term na gagamitin. No? If it is not moving, then it is at rest or stationary. Okay. So, I have here some concept to be needed to be discussed. So even objects that appear to be at rest move. You may say that the object is moving or has moved relative to another object. So ang tawag doon ay point or frame of reference. So ano ibig sabihin po niyan, Ma'am Kay? So ang ibig sabihin lang po niyan, may mga bagay daw po na akala natin hindi sila gumagalaw. But the truth is, gumagalaw pala sila. So, paano nangyari yun, Ma'am Kay? It is based on the frame of reference, kung saan tayo babase. Let's say, for example, the ground, or the Earth's ground, yung ating pinakakalupaan. So, you may think that it is not moving, right? But, if you think, or if you already know that the Earth is moving and the ground is a part of the Earth, then, can we say that the ground is also moving? Yes. Why? Because if you are pointing, or if your point of reference is the sun, kasi the sun is where the earth revolves. So umiikot ang ating earth doon sa sun, then yung ground is part of the earth, then we can say that the ground is also moving. So, it is also in motion because it is a part of the earth. So, depende daw po yun sa ating frame of reference. Okay, so let us further explain what point of reference is. So, the point of reference is the original position of the object. And in this picture naman, ang tawag natin dito is the frame of reference. So, what is our frame of reference in here? So, it is not, in these pictures, ang ating frame of reference is this tree. So, as you can see, itong tree na to, dito sa left picture, it is on the left side of the car. While on the next picture, it is on the right side na. So, we can tell that there is motion that happened in this object because of its frame of reference. By looking at the frame of reference, we can tell that the object has been in motion. Then, also, the point of reference is the location at which motion is measured or determined. So, on our latter discussion, on the discussion later, you will be able to know that the object's motion can be also described according to its, or based on its point of reference. So, example, ito yung Joanne's house is the reference point. Then, if you go to the shop, then you move 300 meters away from the reference point. So, that is you can also describe the motion by looking at the distance from the reference point. So, dun siya natin tinitingnan. So, that is point of reference. So, kanina po, we tried to describe motion in a qualitative way. But this time, we are going to describe it quantitatively naman. When it comes to the quantitative description, Galileo was the first to describe it by relating distance and time. So in terms of the quantitative description or the quantities, we have two types. We have the scalar and the vector. So ang similarity po ng scalar and vector is they have a magnitude. So when we say magnitude, this is the numerical value. And ang difference naman nila, si scalar, it has no direction. It does not show direction. While si vector naman, it shows direction. So we have here different examples of scalar quantities and vector quantities. But the one that we need for this lesson is the distance, speed, and time, which is under the scalar quantities. Then, we also have the displacement, velocity, and acceleration, which is included as vector quantities. So, let us test your understanding about the scalar and vector quantities. Let us try to figure out what is a scalar and what is the vector quantities given in these examples. Let us first try letter A, 5 meters. So that is a scalar quantity because it does not show direction. How about letter B? 30 kilometers per hour east. So that is a vector quantity because it shows direction. And by the way, this type of quantity, this is used in weather forecasting. Okay. Next, letter C, 1 gigabyte. So that is a scalar quantity. Letter D, 30 degrees Fahrenheit. So that is also a scalar quantity. How about 3.5 centimeters from the left? Okay, so that is a vector quantity because it shows direction by reading that phrase from the left. How about 350 calories? So that is a scalar quantity. Then the last one, 400 meters below sea level. Okay, that is also a vector quantity. So let us move on na. So preparation lang yun yung kanina, yung scalar and vector quantity. So ang ating po talagang pag-uusapan today is all about the distance and displacement. So distance and displacement, akala natin dati, distance and displacement is one way for us to describe motion. Sabi ko sa inyo kanina, yun hindi ba? Then, let us explain na ngayon what is the difference and what do you think is the similarity between distance and displacement. So, the distance, it is the path traveled by an object. It is also a scalar quantity. So, ang path traveled by an object, ito yon. Example natin ito. Let us take a look at this picture po. Yan, yung picture na to. Ito yung atin pong distance. Yan. So, iyon yung nilakad or ginapangan ng object, yung ginalawan ng object. While the displacement, it is the distance traveled from its reference point in a specific direction. Again, from its reference point. So, sabi ko sa inyo kanina, reference point is the original position of the object. So, let us say that this is the original position of the object. So, from here to here, yung kanyang endpoint, that is the displacement po. So, yun po yung kaibahan ng distance and displacement. So, let us try to identify also the, let us take also a look at this picture. So, tingnan natin ito, no? Let's say the original position or the point of reference is point A. So, from point A to point B, the distance that will be traveled by the boy is 3 meters. So, from point A to point B, 3 meters siya. Then, from point B to point C is 5 meters. So, ilan na yung distance na na-travel niya? 3 and 5, 8. So, 8 meters po. Then, from point C to point D, it is also 3 meters. Then, 3 plus 5 plus 3. So, the answer is 11 meters. So, yun yung distance na na-travel niya. So, let us stop from point D. So, let us stop at point D. Let's say dito nag-end yung travel nung boy. So, yung distance natin kanina is 11 meters. But, can you tell me what is the displacement of the boy from point A to point D? So, ang displacement niya rather is 5 meters from point A to point D. But what if bumalik siya doon sa point A? Then, therefore, ang distance po natin is 3 plus 5 is 8. Then, plus 3, 11, plus 5, 16. So, the distance traveled by the boy is 16 meters. But, the displacement po is 0. So, that is the difference between distance and... So, in terms of distance and displacement, these are the units that we use. So, we have English units. So, meron tayo dyang inches, feet, and miles. So, pag nakita nyo yan, distance pala yan, displacement pala yan. Then, we also have the metric units. This is also used for distance. We have here centimeters, meters, and kilometers. Lahat ng meters na yan, kabilang siya sa metric units. So, let us try identifying the distance and displacements from these pictures. So, unahin natin itong picture ng... Okay, ito. So, from P to S, let us try to compute the distance. So, 10 kilometers plus 5 kilometers, that is 15 kilometers. And then, 15 kilometers plus 15 kilometers, that is already 30 kilometers. From S to R, bumalik pa siya. So, yung 30 kilometers natin, plus yung ating 15, so that is 45 kilometers. Then, about the displacement naman, so from P to R, the displacement is just 10 plus 5, then 15 kilometers. Next natin is ito, yung mountains na ito. Okay, so the distance traveled by the biker from the house to the factory is 200 meters. Then, the displacement is 120 meters. So, dito naman tayo sa bahay. So, let us try to identify the distance from point A to point C. So, from point A to point B, that is 4 meters. Plus, yung from point B to point C, that is 3 meters. Therefore, the distance is that is just 7 meters. 7 lang po dapat yan. Okay, so 7 meters. Then, the displacement is 5 meters. So, yun po ang ating displacement. So, next concepts that we have to discuss in order for us to describe motion is the speed and velocity. So, kagaya po ng distance and displacement, meron din tayo ditong scalar and vector quantity. So, let us first define speed. So, the definition of speed is it describes how fast an object is moving. While the velocity, it is the rate at which an object changes its position. So, ang velocity po ay parang speed din. It describes how the object is moving. Yun nga lang, ang velocity, considering that it is a vector quantity, then it shows direction or the position. It shows respect to the change in position. So, displacement yung ginagamit niya. Instead of the speed na, unlike dito sa speed that it uses distance, dito po sa velocity, it uses displacement. So, that is the difference between speed and velocity. But when it comes to the formula, ito lang din yung ginagamit nila. So, speed is equal to distance over time. So, dito po, sa speed formula, ginagamitan natin ito ng triangle. So, bakit triangle? Para po makapag-derive tayo. So, again, ang ating formula is speed is equal to distance over time. So, mas maganda daw gamitin yan. Kasi nga po, kapag tinakpan mo yung formula, let's say for example, tinakpan po natin si distance. So, ibig sabihin distance hinahanap natin. Then, we should multiply S to T. Then, kapag ka naman speed ang hinahanap natin, divide natin si D kay T. Pero kung time ang hinahanap natin, then, yung distance, i-divide natin siya kay speed. So, that is the speed. Okay, so what are the units that we use for speed? So, sabi nga natin sa formula kanina, speed is equal to distance over time. So, we should use the units for distance and also the unit for time. So, for the unit of time, so ito yung ginagamit po natin. Yan. While for the unit of distance, yung kaninang mga diniscuss natin like meters, kilometers, centimeters, inches, feet, and miles. So, those are the units that we use for distance. Dito naman, ito yung para sa time. No? So, let us try to solve problems using the formula for speed. So, first we have to read the problem. Calculate the speed of a car that went a distance of 116 miles in 2 hours. So, our distance is 116 miles and our time is 2 hours. So, we just have to divide 116 to 2 and then we are going to get 58 miles per hour. So, ganun po mag-compute ng speed. Next natin, ito. A car travels at 46 kilometers per hour for 3 hours. So, ang atin pong hinahanap naman dito is yung distance. So, pwede natin gamitin yung kaninang triangle natin. So, we just have to identify dun sa ating problem what is the speed and the time. So, yung speed po natin is 46 kilometers per hour and ang ating time is 3 hours. So, 46 times 3, that is 138 kilometers. So, that is our distance. Next, a cyclist travels at 12 kilometers per hour for 30 minutes. So, how far has he gone? So, ang hinahanap po natin is the distance. Again, ang hahanapin po natin sa ating problem is the distance. So, we have to identify again, the speed and the time. So, that is 12 kilometers per hour for the speed and 30 minutes for the time. So, 12 kilometers per hour times 0.5 hour. So, again, kailangan natin gamitin is yung hour. Kasi nga po, para pareho sila ng unit. So, ginamit kasi natin dito is kilometers per hour. Eh, ang time natin dito is minutes. So, we have to convert 30 minutes to hours. So, ang 30 minutes po is equivalent to 0.5 hours. Kaya po, minultiply natin siya dito sa, ang minultiply natin is 12 times 0.5. So, the answer is 6 kilometers. So, that is the distance that is traveled by the cyclist. So, yun po ang ating pag-compute ng speed. So, here is a problem that you should answer on your answer sheet. So, may binigay po akong worksheet sa inyo. Doon po ilalagay yung ating sagot. And don't forget to show your solution. Then, isa pa, kailangan yung inyong final answer, kailangan nakabox. Okay? So, aside from the speed and velocity, the distance and displacement, we can also describe motion through acceleration. So, what is acceleration nga po ba? It is defined as the rate at which an object changes its velocity. So, we can say that an object is accelerating if it is changing its velocity. Tatandaan po natin yon. So, pag nagbago yung velocity, then, nagkakaroon tayo ng acceleration. So, kapag nag-increase po ang velocity, then it means positive acceleration. Just like what is shown in this table po. So, yan. Yung nasa table po na yan. That is both positive acceleration. But when the speed decreases or the velocity decreases, then it is negative acceleration. Yung ibig sabihin po nun, bumabagal siya. It's either bumabagal or suddenly nag-stop siya. So, negative acceleration ang tawag doon. So there are three ways in order for us to say that there is acceleration. So how can we say na merong acceleration? First, there is acceleration when speeding up. So when the speed increases or kapag bumibilis ang isang bagay, there is acceleration. So ang tawag natin doon is positive acceleration. Meron ding acceleration when an object is slowing down. So, ibig sabihin, pag nagbagal, may acceleration pa rin. Yun nga lang, deceleration yun or negative acceleration. And lastly, when changing direction, there is also acceleration. So, kapag ikaw ay nasa isang diretsyong daan at ikaw ay liliko, so you have to slow down, di ba? Hindi naman pwedeng pareho ang speed mo kapag diretso ang daan at kapag ikaw naman ay liliko. So, basically, yung pangalawa and yung pangatlo, yung when slowing down and when changing the direction, ang magiging acceleration mo dito is negative. So, for acceleration, we use the formula change in velocity over time. So, whenever you see triangle, so that is read as change. Binabasa natin yun as change. So, pag binasa natin to, average acceleration is equal to change in velocity over time. So, para mapakita natin yung change in velocity, we subtract initial velocity from the final velocity. Yun ang ibig sabihin yan. Then, we have to divide it by time. So, let us try solving this problem. So, let me read it first. A roller coaster rapidly picks up speed as it rolls down a slope. As it starts down the slope, its speed is 4 meters per second. But 3 seconds later, at the bottom of the slope, its speed is 22 meters per second. So what is its average acceleration? So let me emphasize first na kailangan pag kayo ay nagsosolve ng problem, you have to understand what you are reading. No, kailangan ma-identify kasi natin kung ano yung mga given na kailangan nating i-consider para mahanap natin yung kasagutan. So first, ano nga ba yung itinatanong? Average acceleration. So ano ba yung acceleration daw natin? So para mahanap po iyon, we have to remember the formula. So final velocity minus initial velocity over time. So identify natin sa problem ano yung final, ano yung initial, and ano yung time. So, basahin natin siya. So, as it starts down the slope, so sabi starts, which means nagsimula siya. Nung nagsimula siya, its speed is 4 meters per second. Okay? Una, hinahanap natin acceleration. So, ang ating pong initial velocity is 4 meters per second. And then, 3 seconds later, at the bottom of the slope, its speed is 22 meters per second. So, sinabi niya, 3 seconds after, ang time natin, ang kanyang final velocity na daw ay 22 meters per second. So, by looking at this given, you can tell na pwede na tayong mag-proceed doon sa ating pagsusolve or yung sa ating solution. So, again, ang ating pong solution or ang ating formula is final velocity minus initial velocity over time. Okay? So, substitute lang natin siya. Yung final velocity natin is 22 meter per second and yung ating initial velocity is 4 meter per second. Then, divided by time. Substitute natin. Yung time natin is 3 seconds. So, 22 meters per second minus 4 meters per second is 18 meters per second. And then, copy lang natin yung time which is 3 seconds. So, you will arrive at an answer which is 6 meters per second squared. So, that is our final answer. So, don't forget when you are writing your solutions, pakilagyan ng box yung ating final answer, okay? So, let us try this next problem. A cyclist accelerates from 0 meters per second to 8 meters per second in 4 seconds. So, what is his acceleration? Again, ang hinahanap natin is acceleration. Then, ang ating final velocity is 8 meters per second. Then, ang ating initial velocity is 0 meter per second. And yung time natin is 4 seconds. Then, we have to write our formula, which is final velocity minus initial velocity divided by time. So, substitute lang natin ang ating final velocity is 8 meters per second. Then, subtract natin yung ating initial velocity, which is 0 meter per second. Then, divide natin siya sa time. Next, ano gagawin natin? Let us subtract 8 meters per second minus 0 meter per second. So, ang sagot natin is 8 meters per second. Then, divide natin siya sa ating time, which is 4 seconds. So, pagka sinolve natin yan, pag dinivide na natin yan, we will get the final answer, which is 2 meters per second. Okay? So, may isa pang tanong, is this acceleration higher than that of a car which accelerates from 0 to 30 meters per second in 8 seconds? So, let us try answering that in a separate, separate slide tayo, no? So, sabi kanina, tinatanong kanina kung mas mabilis daw ba or mas mataas bang sa acceleration kapag ito daw ang ating given. So, first, let us identify the given, which is the final velocity natin is 30 meter per second, and yung ating initial velocity is 0 meter per second pa din. Yung time naman natin is 8 seconds. So, let us compute. The final velocity is 30 meters per second minus the initial velocity, which is 0 meter per second. So, the answer will be 30 meters per second pa din. Then, let us divide it by time, which is 8 seconds. We will get an answer, which is 3.75 meters per second. So, let me ask you, does this given or that mas mataas ba ang acceleration nito kaysa dun sa nauna natin kanina? Yes po, mas mataas po siya. So, 3.75 to, while yung nauna po natin kanina is 2 meters per second squared. So, for your activity or performance task, you may answer these problems on your worksheet that is already written in there. And you have to write your solution para recorded yung inyong activity. So, aside from that, can we answer this travel goal? So, doon sa atin pong worksheet, ang ginawa po natin doon, ang dapat na gagawin talaga is, you have to measure the distance from your kwarto, from your sala, from the lababo, and to the garden. Pero, syempre, di ba, hindi naman lahat tayo. Merong garden, hindi naman lahat, meron tayong sala. So, pwede po nating gamitin na lang itong distance and time na binigay ni Ma'am Kay in order to compute your speed. So, ganun na lang po ang ating gawin. So, So, paano ba natin maia-apply yung ating lesson sa ating buhay or in reality? So, we can apply it by relating it to success. So, para sa atin, minsan gusto natin mabilis ang success, but ganun talaga ang buhay, no? Hindi pwedeng mabilis ang success. Kahit nasabihin mong mabagal yan, still, that is acceleration. Kahit mabagal yan, still, it's velocity, no? So, ano lang ba ang kailangan natin para ma-reach natin yung success, even though mabagal or mabilis siya? No? We have to first exert our effort, no? Sabi ko nga kanina, kailangan yung force, ito yung main ingredient para magkaroon ng motion. So, para magkaroon kayo ng, para mag-move forward kayo, you have to exert effort, you have to exert force. You need your force. No? And minsan, kailangan, gusto natin mabilis, Pero pwede naman nating itap yung shoulders ng ating family, yung friends, lahat ng tao nakapaligid sa atin, pwede nating itap yung kanilang shoulders para tulungan din tayo in order for us to reach our success. Pero syempre, once na tinulungan ka nila, dapat hindi mo yun kalimutan once you are successful. So that is all for today. Thank you po. All for today. Thank you po sa ating mga sources. So, thank you. Thank you for listening.